The time is now. Welcome, everybody. Thank you, friends. Dr. Slava Shut here. We're going to have some fun today. We have an amazing guest. So let's go. You were born with greatness. Dr. Slava here. I'm going to introduce you to a friend of mine. He's an amazing guy, fellow Apex member. Today's guest, Steve Gamblin, is as the Motivational Firewood guy, blends back to basics positivity, visualization, and humor, teaching his clients to see their desired outcomes, actions, and to achieve desired outcomes, vision board mastery, one-to-one and group coaching, live and virtual events. Bottom line, Steve teaches people to identify what their goals look like, feel like, sound like, and even smell like. He's an awesome dude, and it's a pleasure to have you here today. Tell our listeners where you're from, how you got started, and, give us some nuggets.
Sounds great. Thank you, Dr. Slava. My name is Steve Gamblin. I live up in a little town in New Hampshire on a dead-end street off another dead-end street. So I'm tucked away out here in the gorgeous woods. And at age 54, I realized recently, somebody said, "What did you want to be when you grew up?" And I remember very vividly when I was 11 years old. And I've got a few birthday candles on you probably. I wanted to be a radio DJ because I saw a TV show called WKRP in Cincinnati. And I saw this really cool guy named Dr. Johnny Fever. So I wanted to be a radio DJ. Steve Martin's stand-up comedy album, Wild and Crazy Guy, was huge at the time. I wanted to be a stand-up comedian. I wanted to be an author. I wanted to write my own books. And I also wanted to be a teacher of people, but not in a classroom setting, because I had an amazing fifth grade teacher named Mrs. Farron. So over the decades, even though I had a few stops and starts, at age 24, I got into the radio industry. At age 34, I blew up my entire life due to burnout and frustration. And after a little bit of time in the ashes, in the early 2000s, I became a professional speaker. I became a stand-up comedian. I've since published 4 books. And now 18 years later, I still get to enjoy now on the, after the couple of year break with everything going on in the world, getting back out on live stages again. And I absolutely love it. And then, as you said, working with people on their visualization and their vision boards and their goals and connecting to all their senses. When I was 11 years old, I actually did my first visualization exercise and saw all of this happen. And then it just became a matter of seeing the opportunities and taking action.
Tell some people out there, I talk to people every day, and there's still people out there that are not major entrepreneurs, but they're up and coming people. And some of them believe like this whole thing about writing it down, these vision boards, this manifestation stuff, it's all hokey. It's all, baloney. Tell us some of the history, and tell us, the real deal of the vision boards. Like, give us the nooks and cranny of these amazing things to those listeners who are like, come on, man, really?
I've been dealing with that since the day I became a speaker. And my mission has always been to take the woo-woo and the mystical and the, with regard to vision boards, the arts and crafts project out of it. And so many people come up to me and say, "Oh, Steve, I went to a vision board party once. It didn't work." Right. And I always ask them the same question. I go, "Let me guess. You got in a room with a bunch of people. You had wine, cheese, crackers, scissors, glitter, glue sticks, and a poster board and some magazines." They go, "Yeah." And I go, "That's the challenge I have." And I give credit, and I also give partial blame to programs like The Secret, which came out, the DVD came out in the early 2000s, and I own a copy of it. I agreed with a lot of what The Secret said, but for me, the critical flaw in how they presented the law of attraction is they had a casting call for a genie in a magic lamp, and all it kept saying over and over is, your wish is my command. What it caused a lot of people to believe is that if they could sit on their butt and just think it, it was going to come their way.
Right.
And they even had people saying it in the DVD, which I feel unfortunately gives a very shallow look at what visualization is all about. And first thing I tell people is you need to know what it is you really want and stop falling for what all the gurus say out there. Stop slapping pictures of Lamborghinis, yachts, mansions, private jets, and helicopters on a poster board, thinking that you're manifesting
Right.
your future if that's not what you really want. So to really do a deep dive exercise where you are now and where you would like to be. And the biggest caution I give to people is to say, don't start with the material things. And I work with people in 8 major areas of life. If you Google life wheel, you'll see something similar to what I created. Your physical health, your emotional well-being, your relationships, your ethics, values, and integrity that guide you, your faith and spirituality, if that's important to you, your connection to the world in a real way, your finances, and your career. All 8 of these areas are operating in and around you 24/7. So wouldn't it be a really good idea to understand not only what you want to have, but the person you wish to become in each of those areas? Because like I said, they're all working 24/7. If we can be very purpose driven and understand again where we are now, where we wish to be, say, in 1 year.
Right.
I start with 1 year with people. If you have a 20-year goal, hey, that's great. But what is 1 year's progress? How would that be represented in the actions you wish to take over the course of a year? And I take a very blue collar, bread and butter, meat and potatoes approach to all of this. Very practical, not the artsy fartsy, airy fairy, wishing woo woo aspect of it. And when I do break it down like that, I get the oh factor
Right.
so often. And then people will say, oh, I've already been doing this. Of course you have. We all have. But what so many people don't know is what they actually want. So they fumble and stumble their way through every day, either head buried in the phone or staring at their shoes walking forward, wondering why they're missing out on the greatest opportunities because they're not looking at something. They're just shuffling along in their same paths every day. So my approach is to really take it back to basics and take all that mystical stuff right out of it.
Right. And to add on to that, all you listeners, as a doctor, I'm telling you right now, it's not mystical. Now, if you believe in God, and, you understand those concepts and, something that's beyond our ken, something's beyond our understanding, the creator of all life and everything. But we have also science, and science has shown why manifestation actually works. And for all you listeners out there, I'll have you look up something called reticular formation. When you activate neural transmitters through neurochemical reactions, the things that you think about, the things that you see, hear, speak, think about, visualize, that manifestation actually turns into a series of reactions. And through series of actions, like Steve said, don't just think about it. There has to be a next step. When that happens, your body figures out a way to go get it. So all you people who think it's hokey pokey, okay, it's not hokey and it's not pokey and it's good stuff. So you're actually scientifically going out to get the things that you want. It is absolutely amazing. So my follow-up, Steve, is, I've talked to you several times. We're part of some amazing organizations together. What keeps you motivated, man? What keeps you, you've been a comedian, you've done this, you do that, you're a coach, you're a speaker, vision board guy, what keeps you motivated?
It actually comes down to a lesson that one of my grandfathers taught me, and he never actually verbalized it, but he lived it every day. Leave as many situations as you can better than you find them. And for me, that manifests itself in conversations. It shows up in opportunities to commit acts of kindness for free every day. Everywhere I go, there's an opportunity to leave a situation better. I hold doors for people. When I hold doors for people, I have amazing conversations with people. And gosh, I mean, I'm a part of Apex because 11 years ago, some guy named Chris Whitehead sent me a direct message in Facebook and said, I'm here in New Hampshire. I go to a lot of networking events. Why do people tell me I need to meet Steve Gamblin? I said, I don't know. Want to grab a sandwich and figure it out? He said, yes. We had a conversation. We've now been working together actively and been great, great friends and brothers for all these years. And he keeps opening up opportunities for me to meet different people. You and I are here because 11 years ago,
Right.
someone reached out to me with amazing positive intention
Right.
to connect and develop a relationship. So every day I'm just so open to how much better could this life get? And how can I improve someone's life with a ripple of kindness or joy or laughter or a bit of coaching or mentorship or just friendship, or to look at somebody and say, I think you're great.
That's awesome.
Every day I wake up every morning and I'm grateful for 3 moments from the previous day. I write them in my journal every day. And that fires me up for the new day. How can I do something more interesting, fun, loving, caring, giving, exciting, creative today than I did yesterday? But I've been writing those down for 10 or 11 years.
That's awesome. And, you know, how do you, like, as a coach, right? And as a vision guy, how do you incorporate, as a comedian, any like comedy into, you know, your vision boards and in your coaching?
The weirder, the better. And that's what I tell people, because it's not only what you want as a goal. Some of the most amazing coaching conversations I've had with my clients over the years, and this is now going back 16 years of vision board work. And some of my clients have been with me almost since day one. I've got a big company in Rhode Island that brings me in every January. And people always ask, well, doesn't it get boring for you? No, because every year when I'm there with you, in the first part of the couple of hours we're together, they're formulating. We do some exercises so they're not just coming in with pictures. They're formulating their plans, starting to create their boards. My favorite thing to go around and ask is, what's the story behind this? Why do you want this? What does that look like, feel like, sound like, smell like for you? How's that going to improve your life? Who do you have to become to get there? And when I ask for the story behind a picture, some of the explanations I get are hilarious of why somebody wants something. But as they're telling me, I key in on their eyes and their faces and their expressions and the emotions. And I'll always tell them afterward, you know what I love most about that? The way you just lit up when you said that. So we get to have very lighthearted discussions, me not being from the scientific side as much as you are. I understand the concepts of it, but I speak at a very human, one-to-one, creative, fun, energetic exchange level. And the humor finds its way into what I do quite often, because it's, first off, it's very interesting. I'm by nature a storyteller.
Right.
So I get to weave that in with intention, because humor is a great way to capture a memory, to get a hook into somebody and to become a significant part of their story as they move forward toward their goals. So, hey, if I'm the guy that makes you laugh while you're creating success in your life, rock on. I am great with that.
That's awesome. And, you know, you've been doing this for a long time. What's your angle?
In general, like my style in that, or
What, everything. I want to know where is Steve headed? Like, you know, like I said, you know, you've been doing this for a long time.
Mhm.
You've done some amazing things. You've touched so many lives. You've made so many connections. You know, what's your angle?
it's funny. Early on, I used to say, I want to be up in front of 25,000 people. And I was thinking back, of course, in the early days, everybody wants to be Tony Robbins, which now I refer to speakers like that as rah, 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 buy my stuff. And it just becomes this amazing big marketing thing. What I seriously love the most, I would love to work with about 25 Fortune 500 companies on a regular basis, not just teaching them a vision board, but having ongoing coaching programs with just 25 clients around the world. That blows my soul up with so much joy, because I get to watch the progress. I have been inside many companies over the years and worked with their teams and had ongoing coaching. And when you hear from the CEOs and the team leaders, even 3 months after working together, and I call in to do a checkup and they say, Steve, we're hearing conversations between team members who barely knew each other's names.
Wow.
We're hearing them talk about all 8 areas of their lives, not even worried about the material stuff. How's your dog doing? Hey, I heard your daughter got into this school. they're having conversations, they're picking each other up, they're cheering each other on, they're all rising. It's not just me, it's we. And everybody benefits from that. So that would be the end goal. I don't need to be on this big worldwide tour getting standing ovations because I don't care about that. What I love most is connection and impact. And for some people, they say, oh, that's easy to say. You're getting paid for this. Hey, I did that with that goal when I was working for peanuts and not making any money. That intention was still there. It's all about creating impact. I honestly could care less about applause. I want to know that what I'm sharing and the way I'm doing it is having a direct result on the hearts and souls and minds and bodies and attitudes inside of some pretty big corporations. I'd love to do more of that.
Nice. That's awesome. And, since you've had so many different experiences, we always talk about this with my listeners, sometimes things happen and you have to pick up the pieces. If you recall and are willing to share, what is your biggest regret, biggest failure, and what did you learn from it?
Yeah, this is a big one. I've got one really, really big failure. This was early on in my career. So it's right around the mid 2000s. I got a call from a company up here in New England, defense contractor type of company working with the military, but also private enterprise. And they said, we have a bunch of team leaders coming in from around the country and a couple of international people. Can you just come in with your positivity and humor and mindset presentation and speak to them? I said, of course, because it was early on in the arrogance of being a speaker. I can speak to anybody. Well, another person from human resources reached out and said, hey, while he's here, I wonder if he could speak to my group. Well, that group was 21 aeronautical engineers, and I was going to be their final speaker of the day. And I said, sure, I can speak to anybody. Now, you talk about the mindset of engineers. They're a little bit more slow to process things. They relish having some data so they can analyze and formulate their own opinions and their plan of action. Here I show up with no handouts. And my first thing I do is I walk around this square of their tables with my hand up, high-fiving and invading the space of engineers. And by the way, their leader had my introduction, goes to read it, crumbles it up, throws it over his shoulder. He goes, well, I Googled this guy. He seems okay. Hey, Steve, come on in. Now, the challenge was the end of the introduction was the beginning of my speech.
Oh.
And I sat there for a second, like the old Southwest Air commercial, want to get away.
Yeah.
And somebody asked me shortly after, I mean, this really did not end well. Somebody said, what was it like? I said, you remember those old World War II movies? Not like Top Gun now, where they fire a missile and the plane gets blown to bits. World War II, you just get a bunch of bullets through the fuselage and it would leak a little oil, then it would smoke, then it would catch fire, then it would just trail until it crashed. I got shot 5 minutes into an 85-minute speech and trailed smoke the rest of the way until I just finally crashed. And the HR director was so furious with me, righteously so. She demanded some money back and said, if I ever hear of you using our logo to promote your business, I will call whoever hires you and tell them what I really feel about you.
Wow.
Crawled into my recording studio for about 2 or 3 weeks, canceled all appearances and meetings, and sat here in the dark, wondering what I was going to do. I was ready to abandon my speaking career. It was early on. I mean, second or third year, maybe, if that. And I was going to hang it up because I was so just embarrassed by it. And then someone reached out to me and said, hey, Steve, I was at this event you were at a few months ago. I just wanted to let you know, oh my gosh, what you said impacted me so much. Here's what I created in my life. And I just wanted to reach out and say thank you. Universe is perfect timing, right? At my lowest point, somebody reaches a hand back down the mountain to say, hey, you have value. You're good. Got back on the horse. And now that event, which nearly ended my career, it's a cautionary tale. And in some ways, it's a punchline.
Now, so are you preparing differently now? Or like obviously you're not going to write your intro and stuff that people could toss on the paper, I'm sure you do things a little bit differently now, right?
Oh, very much so. Yeah, I'm prepared. And matter of fact, I was a morning show producer, a rock morning show producer for most of my radio career. Back then, my thing was, we're 30 seconds from chaos at all times. So when I became the star in my own speaking career, I forgot about all those things that could go wrong. So yes, now I have systems in place where I can start cold, I can jump in, I can do whatever. I'm prepared for anything. And having been a stand-up comedian, I did that for 7 years. I can think on my feet much better than I could early on in my speaking career and roll with pretty much everything. I mean, I had all of the electricity in a building once go out during a speaking event. Lights, everything just went pure dark. And everybody went, and I just said, I did that with my mind. And they just started laughing. About 2 minutes later, the lights came on. I said, all right, how many of you changed chairs? Because I won't know everybody's name now because I knew where you were sitting. And we got a good laugh out of it, got right back on track. So now I've got all the tools in place to recover from something like that.
That's incredible. It was like, you mentioned Top Gun, and then you're like, Maverick, engage. Engage, Maverick. And then we finally got you up back in the cockpit, and thank God we did, because now you're able to touch all these lives and all these incredible people. So you're like, that's it, I can't do it, and then Maverick's back, baby, part 2.
Yep.
So
just
awesome.
just rise above. Like Ryan Stewman, founder of Apex, always rise above, rise above, rise above. And if we do that, our way to our goal, to our desired outcomes, it might get a little speed bump, but it's not going to get Jersey barriered as if we didn't rise up and just continue to grow. It's all part of the process. And I always say that which doesn't kill me gives me a great story to share on stage.
Absolutely. And that's a pretty good story. What's the biggest misunderstanding that people have about your work?
That it is very woo-woo, that it's just snap your fingers, that if I buy your program or read your book, I'm going to be able to change my life just like that. And that's part of it, is the history that a lot of people have with my industry of personal development. And a big part of it also is now with technology in social media, people expect instant results all the time. And there's all these magic, and you get it working in healthcare. The magic bullet for weight loss. How many commercial programs do we see that says you don't have to change your diet, you don't have to exercise, you can lose and be lean just like that? That happens a lot in my industry. And I tell people, look, if you're coming here for a magic bullet of an answer that's going to fix your life by the time I get off this stage, no. But if you hang with me, you have an opportunity to wake up tomorrow morning and every other morning thinking one more positive thought, speaking one more kind word, especially about yourself, taking one more positive action. That's, over time, where the magic comes from.
What's the biggest challenge you have right now, as we change, and I'm sure the way you present information, technology is improving, like you said, and we have advancements, how we could reach out to people, but as technology is getting better, and you've told us that you've changed things, you have systems in place. What is now your biggest challenge?
The biggest challenge is conveying the value of what I can provide, whether it's virtually, which has become very big over the past couple of years. I went 28 months without being on a live stage in front of people. And at first that was a little difficult, switching over and conveying the energy and the connection, sitting in this chair, looking into a little camera lens that would impact people enough. But I've gotten pretty good at it over the past couple of years. Biggest challenge is getting people to understand that we are all different in this field. We all have different strengths. We all have different messages. We all have different core values.
Right.
Our level of integrity can be different. There's a lot of sharks out there. You deal with it in your industry like I do in mine. There are a lot of people out there who don't have their clients' best interests at heart.
Right.
They're just at it for a buck, or they're padding their fame, or they're showing up as a not authentic version of themselves online. And Steve, we wanted to hire you. You drive this vehicle. This guy drives a Lamborghini. We're going to hire him. Okay. The guy rented the Lamborghini. It's not his. I'm up against that all the time. I'm up against the fame and fortune and the flex of a lot of what's out there, because I've stayed true to who I am, my core values every day, which is build the best relationships, create vivid vision with people, cultivate kindness with every conversation, and be fun as heck to work with. That's all I got. I operate from that. And I'm doing pretty well with that. I don't flex, and I don't put myself out there as anything I am not. Does it cost me events by being that way? I'm sure it does, because some people are looking for the fame and celebrity level. hey, I'm the gut, let's do the work level with
Right.
people.
Right. So, talking to you, getting to know you a little bit more, I know you're your true authentic self, but is there something that people don't know about you that, you know, that you would want to share about us? Like, is there something that we don't know about you? Something that you don't present in front of the speaking audience?
I'm actually quite an open book, but what I do share with people now that most people don't realize about me, I was on the radio for 10 years. I was an off-air rock morning show producer for 8 of those years because I didn't have the guts or the confidence to get on a microphone. I didn't till I had to, which is when our morning guy quit and the owner was going to put the station back on satellite. I showed up and did the worst 5-day audition as a radio DJ you've ever heard. I was self-deprecating, not for years of my life, but decades of my life, brutally self-deprecating. I would use humor, but tear myself down for the amusement of others. What so many people don't recognize about that is the damage we do to ourselves when we're out there just kind of going through the motions every day, but not courageous enough to become our best selves. And also actively tearing ourselves down in front of other people for a laugh, to help them to feel better, to look as though we're not showing off. I literally did that for decades. Some days I talk about it, and people who've known me long enough, including Chris Whitehead, my brother inside of Apex, the reason I stopped doing that is because of him. He brought me into an event that he was having 10 or 11 years ago. And on the third day, I got really self-deprecating. I went to a very dark place. Now, the audience was laughing, but it was a pity laugh. And I put myself in a really bad spot. And what a lot of people don't realize about that is what it does to you internally, and what it can do to your own goals, hopes, and dreams, that suddenly you don't feel as though you're worthy of it. Imposter syndrome comes in.
Right.
And we deal with all of that. So most people, when they see me on stage or see me in an interview or conversation, have no idea how many literally decades of my life I struggled with all of that. When I do share it, it's funny because people come up and say, oh my gosh, that was me, but you grew through that.
Right.
So now I can too. So I'm actually starting to talk about that more now than I did back when I was actively doing it.
So it's interesting. A comedian, in so many respects, is kind of like that actor that goes into that dark place, preparing for a role. Like, we've had some situation, Heath Ledger, I remember when he was doing Batman, right? I mean,
Yeah.
literally, that's what went overboard, right? Like, preparing for that role, being in such a dark place and being such a dark role, and you can't come out. And, as a comedian, you're trying to get laughs and you're trying to stir people up. And you're right. A lot of comedians, we don't think about that. They come out and they say all these things, they make fun of themselves, and we're all laughing, or but part of it may be true. And the other thing is, does that ever leave? So it's part of you. Like, that you're coming out sort of. And how do you shut that off?
It's very difficult. And that is more pervasive in the comedy and entertainment world than most people would believe. You absolutely nailed that on the head. I mean, I never got above maybe being a middle act. I was never a headliner. I never did big tours, but I did a lot of shows in New England and also in New York City. A lot of what you just said is absolutely true. You see people up there doing this. You're like, wow, man, that was great. And then you look at them and you realize they were just bearing their own souls. And that for a lot of people was their therapy. There's a lot of mental illness. There's a lot of addiction. There's a lot of emotional issues. There's a lot of anxiety in the comedy world. And that's part of why I got away from it after 7 years. I didn't like being around drugs and alcohol. I've never done drugs, but I used to drink here and there. I got away from that, and instantly I became a better speaker because I took all the tools and everything I learned as part of stand-up, brought it into the speaking world, but then I was no longer around that whole element and that level of stress and depression and chaos and anxiety, which really weighs you down. Because when you love and care about these people that off stage, when you start to realize where they're really at, you see them on stage, you go, oh my gosh, they're exercising themselves right now. They're demons.
Yeah.
And it's not a healthy thing, but it's how they survive. If they get out enough poison, they don't die that day.
Wow.
And it's a deep, sad look at it. but that's where a lot of people are. And it's very tragic for a lot of people like Heath Ledger and a lot of the comedians
Wow.
that we've lost over the years who struggle so much off stage. And I want to be on stage being positive. And I was when I was a comedian. I just want to be on stage being positive to help people out and to not go to those dark places myself.
Beautiful. So I want to bring in a combination. I want to melt two of your personalities together. I want the disc jockey and the comedian to come out right now. What is your favorite genre of music, right? Because, you know, you did that too for a long time. What's your favorite band, your favorite genre of music, and why?
Definitely classic rock and blues. My favorite all-time band still is the Rolling Stones. And if I was stuck on a desert island, all I need are their albums from 1968 to 1972. I'm the happiest guy in the world.
You won't get sick of it. Like if we
Nope.
all you had, you were on Gilligan's Island, right? And that's all you had. You had one record player, you had those albums, you could play that on repeat.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
been doing it for years. And it's funny when people say, Steve, if you could go to one rock concert, you know, who would you go see on tour? I said, well, you need a time machine. 1972 Exile on Main Street tour, Madison Square Garden, put me just to the right of center stage in the front row, because I just want to sit there and watch Keith Richards, as drugged out as he was, be his sloppy, beautiful, talented mess. I could watch that all day.
Okay. And who's sitting with you?
Who's sitting with me? That would be my Tina.
Beautiful. So
Yeah.
you're not bringing anybody else with you. If you had your top five, who are you bringing with you? You bring your Tina.
Yep. Bring my Tina.
Beautiful.
Yep.
That's what I love about you, man. You know,
Yeah.
of all those entrepreneurs out there, I want my listeners to take one thing from you. And the one thing I've noticed from you, and that I take myself, and I take pride in this also, is that you speak so highly of your wife all the time. And that shows to your honor, your integrity. And I really admire that. In this world of womanizing and manizing, whatever you want to call it now, I don't want this, you know, women now are acting like guys. I mean, it's unbelievable. So in the world of entrepreneurship and materialism and planes and Lamborghinis and mansions and all that, and all this womanizing, and even in music and stuff like that, and glorifying all kinds of stupidity, we have you and some amazing other people, Ryan Stewman, you know, Chris. I mean, you know, all these amazing people that I look up to, you know, and they say such great things about their spouses, and I really admire that. Tell us, you know, I know it's natural, but tell us a little bit more, you know, like where that comes from.
I had great role models when I was growing up. My dad, we lost my dad about 3.5 years ago, but my dad was such a great role model. Even though my parents divorced, they were both still great people, and they gave us great values. And I did have a first marriage. I was married from my mid-20s to my early 30s. It lasted about 7.5 years. And we split up. And what I chose to do in the very early 2000s is to not date a single woman for more than a year. I said, look, here's the human tendency. Go play the field, or fall right back into your old habits, or wind up dating somebody who's just like the person you just married because that's what you're attracted to. I spent a year reading, writing, having conversations with people, and visualizing the best version of myself. And literally writing it down, and taking actions and thinking differently, developing better habits, being a better communicator. Because I used to be a person, whenever there was conflict, I just shut down. I didn't fight, I shut down. But I would shut down so long that eventually one little thing would trigger it, and all of a sudden, big fight over nothing. So I spent a couple of years, and I did at one point date one woman for a little while, but was very upfront and open, just saying, look, I'm not looking for any long-term relationship. It was just fun to hang out with this person. But then in January of 2007, I said, this is going to be the year that I discover her, whoever she may be. And I took steps to end that other relationship. And I had pictures on my vision board of the types of relationship I wanted to have. Couples standing hand in hand at the railing of a ship, watching a sunset, walking, holding hands on the beach, because I'm the romantic guy. for all that stuff. And in the first week of June of 07, I wrote in my journal, I am ready to fall in love. 2 weeks later, I got an email from someone named Tina, and I almost deleted it as spam. Thank God I didn't. Because the next day I opened it up and realized it was a girl I'd gone to high school with, on whom I had a crush for 3 years, but never had the guts to ask out.
Wow.
Who at that point was living in Florida and just reached out to say, hey, I saw your name online and I found your email. We should stay in touch. And at the time of this broadcast, this month is our 15th anniversary. We've been together ever since. We've stood at the railing of a ship at sunset. We've walked hand in hand on the beach. We've just created this incredible life. And we actually had a sit down on the couch a couple of weeks ago talking about some financial stuff in the house and this and that. I said, you know what, babe? You can take everything else away. Everything I've worked so hard to have in my entire life, but I can't lose you. You're it of everything. I mean, we both got emotional over that, but it's from the heart. It's 100% because I've had other things in my life. I've been up, I've been down, I've been broke, I've been doing okay. She is the most important part of my life every day. And we wake up every single morning. The first thing at 5:30 every morning, our feet touch each other. And we both go, That's the first smile every single day. And I wish more people understood that. But just the having a vision of everything, I put myself in the best places, knew who I wanted to be, knew the type of person I wanted to attract. And when I finally said, I am ready for this and I've made room, she showed up.
See, guys, what? Hocus pocus, what? See that? That's how it works. It happens more than you guys think. I'm telling you right now, you gotta talk to Steve. You got to get yourself a vision board. You have to, you just, I'm telling you guys right now, like there's so much into this. It's unbelievable. Have you ever posted anything like on social media or anything that you wish you didn't, like you regret?
There have been a couple of things over the years that were a little edgy. There was actually one that I did regret, and I did go back and take it down. My family and I are very big on acts of kindness. We started our own, what was just we called it the hippie giving mission called Beach Bum Philanthropy a number of years ago. It is now an official 501c3. But I remember the day, and I talk about people about how important their attitude is and the energy they put out there and just being very cautious with it because it's our real estate, it's our value. I found a study that CNN had done about the 100 worst nonprofits in America. And I found that there's a nonprofit out there which generates about $300 million a year in donations called the Children's Wish Network. They try to make themselves sound like Make-A-Wish. They give less than 1% of that money away to actual programs to help kids out. And I went on a rant that actually scared some of my clients, and I was venomous, and I wished cancer and all sorts of painful stuff on everybody involved with the Children's Wish Network. And I just went at it and just was brutal. It was a bloodbath. And I regret putting that up there because it took me off my game and it scared a lot of people. And it kind of tarnished my reputation for some people. So I went back and took away all the venomous stuff. And instead, I created a meme with a picture, a giant Great Dane. And I said, it's not for me to wish evil upon people, but there are days I wish that karma showed up as a seagull, a lactose intolerant seagull with the digestive output of a Great Dane locked in an ice cream truck.
Wow.
So when the comedian part came in and kind of made it funny, I hit the formula and that post actually almost went viral. Wow. So I regretted the first version because it really took me off my game. It put me in a bad spot. But I was able to rescue it with the humor and the comedy and a bit of lightheartedness of saying, hey, this isn't perfect. They can do what they want, but just to make you aware, this is what's going on in the world. Because I'm not all about unicorns and gurus and rainbows and glitter. It's about keeping it real, but I went to a really dark place.
Well, you gave me a pretty good vision of that one. I was picturing that. That's a good one.
Thank you.
I like that. That's a serious wish also by the way.
Yeah, but at least it was kind of funny. It was cute that way.
Yeah. So where can people find you? Give us, any information you want, where we can find you, any last words you would like to share with the audience, things that we might want to know.
Sure. Nice and easy to find me. It's motivationalfirewood.com. And there are speaking videos there. There are testimonials there. My vision board mastery program is there. And it's just kind of the central place to find everything about me. I've also got a podcast, which you can look for on iTunes. But the biggest thing is the visualization and the vision boards and just helping people to get to that next level in their own lives.
That's beautiful. That's awesome. So as usual, it's always a pleasure, my friend. You're incredible. I mean, I recommend anybody listening to reach out because this is the real deal. And, the things that you say and the amazing things that, about relationships with your wife, you're definitely an inspiration. You've been doing this for a long time. I love what you do. It's incredible.
Thank you very much.
Well, friends, it's all for today. Remember, tune in every Friday at 8 a.m. Pacific. And I want to say thank you, thank you, thank you.